Hey there, welcome back to Liz and Sandro's Marketing Podcast. If you're new to the show, welcome. Sandro and I chat about all things digital marketing, including SEO, websites, email marketing, and today we're going to be chatting about reviews.
Thanks, Liz. Today, yes, I wanted to talk about reviews, and I almost wanted to call this the state of reviews in 2019, but really it's more letting you know what's going on with reviews at this point in time. And we may still call it that, but a few things piqued my interest in this subject over the past few weeks. First, the holidays. So many people came home or went home or got to go home for the holidays and stopped by old haunts or businesses or favorite bars when they were in college and places they loved when they lived at home. And inevitably, many of them left reviews. Second, there's a lot of chatter going around the marketing world that Yelp very quietly released an update to its algorithm in late October. People are calling it the ghost update. Ghost update because it kind of just, you didn't really notice anything, and because the update basically moved a lot of reviews into the not recommended portion of their review page. So you can see the not recommended reviews if you scroll all the way down on any Yelp business page. These are sometimes fun to read because they can be obviously really fake, but at the same time, I know of some that are very legitimate reviews who have been flagged and put in the not recommended areas. So while their algorithm is good, it's not 100% perfect. Regardless, I'd recommend taking a look at your not recommended reviews and see if there's an uptick in them. We'll link to an article and study about this, but basically there was no real bias to what reviews are flagged. Every business industry seemed to be affected. Approximately 25% of all businesses were affected. There were 1-star reviews that were deprecated down to not recommended and 5-star and everything in between. Most businesses didn't lose anything in their overall rating, but a few did gain up to 1 star and a few did lose up to a full star. So again, another reason for you to check on your Yelp reviews. Why this matters to you. Basically, there's nothing you can do about it, but you should check in on these not recommended reviews. If you happen to know a person who wrote one of the reviews, you may want to ask them to check in to your business on Yelp. That could help legitimize a review.
And if they write another, do they need to write another one, or will it legitimize the previous review?
I've seen both.
Okay.
You should have at least 3 reviews. Another thing to do is have at least a few friends on Yelp.
Sure.
And have a picture of yourself
I
or
forgot
something.
you could do that on Yelp.
Yes. All those things help Yelp know that maybe you are legitimate. It doesn't always help because I've seen someone who has all of her reviews approved and one just happens to be not recommended. It's very weird. So, well, by the rules of Yelp, you're not allowed to technically explicitly ask for reviews on Yelp. One way you can help this is to ask people or tell people, hey, you will find us on Yelp, or hey, did you know we have a Yelp page?
Right.
Using that wording is allowed.
Which is so dumb.
It's
How can you be a review site? Which, and I get that's not what they call themselves, but that's what they are. So just ask for reviews. Like, there shouldn't be any harm in that.
Yeah, of all the review sites, Yelp seems to be the only one that you're not allowed to ask for reviews. Or ask your guests to check in on Yelp, and then maybe that'll remind them, hey, I should review this. And actually, Yelp send out an email, hey, you checked in, you should review this place. Finally, there's a Reddit post that made a splash, and we'll link to it here. It's a guy who was working at his cousin's restaurant while he was going to college for a year and a half. And basically, his cousin's restaurant was not doing well, and I believe their lease was up in 18 months. They knew they were going to be closing in a year and a half. So the MBA student, he was an MBA student, asked his cousin, the owner, if he could go to town with the reviews, because basically they had 3.5 stars, 3 to 3.5 stars everywhere. And so the student did during that 18 months, and he created accounts, fake accounts on Google, on Yelp, on other sites. He let them simmer, he let them grow, he made reviews for other businesses. He used VPNs so he could pretend like he was in Australia reviewing, visiting, or in other cities, in other countries. He used Tor, he used a dark web to solicit reviews.
Yeah.
And they had nothing to lose. They were going to go out of business anyways. And one more thing they did, they rebranded themselves as Under New Management. Again, even though they weren't. Eventually, over time, their rating went from 3.5 to 4.5 stars, and suddenly business boomed, 50, 70 to 100% doubling.
Wow.
Business. Suddenly bloggers and newspapers and local
media outlets, were showing up. Oh my gosh.
Showing up and reviewing, and they were saying how great the new management was, how great the new food was, how great the new menu was. And when in actuality, and you'll read it, quote, when in reality, we were just cycling the same stuff, the same junk we served 6 months prior. So there's more, and we'll link to it. But my takeaway is reviews matter, and they can be gamed. I think Liz and I are going to be doing a few episodes on the shadier side of digital marketing.
Yes.
Shady side of SEO.
Yes, for sure. Because we've been talking about it for months.
Yes. And, you could game Amazon. Our last episode, you can game Amazon reviews.
Yeah.
And you can pay people to write reviews. So I'm not saying you should do these things, but I wanted to make you aware that this is happening. And while we don't recommend clients do this, if a client asks us to do it, we're not going to say no at this point in time. We have a client, we'll talk about it later. She asked us to do something for Google and kind of fake something. And we did, and her business has picked up ever since then.
Yeah.
So almost saying I understand why people are doing this. They're not being penalized, but there are rules, and those breaking the rules aren't being penalized, and their businesses seems to be booming. I know law firms, they were the first business that I saw doing this quite a bit. At least they were when I started. So I'm not advocating doing this. We're not recommending doing this, but
We're just reporting on what's happening out there
yeah.
in the digital space.
And if you do it, I'm not going to blame you.
Now we're giving you high fives and pats
just
on the
saying,
back.
you know what, man, you do you, because Google and Yelp are not catching any of this stuff.
And by the way, great journalism in action, since no one bothered to fact check that the restaurant wasn't actually under new management. I mean, and it's probably in the food section of a paper, so not the hard news that we need the hard journalistic fact checking on, but still funny.
Yeah.
So by the way, did the restaurant close? Did it go out of business?
I don't know. I haven't read. There's a lot of responses to the original Reddit, and again, we'll link to it, but I haven't read them all. But it is kind of funny because he says, was it that I was a new manager and I was a good manager? And he says, I was actually a really bad manager. So no, that I would have prevented people from coming in.
Interesting. Well, yeah, more proof that reviews make a big difference with your online presence. So get out there, get those reviews.
And do what you can to make sure you get the best reviews possible.
Definitely. All right. Well, thanks for these updates, Sandro, and thank you for joining us. That wraps up today's episode. Don't forget, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. If you have an extra couple minutes, we would love some feedback. Please give us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Podcast. We'd love some feedback from you. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.